People are dropping right in.
Good afternoon and welcome. We will allow for people to come in and we will also start our recording here soon.
Welcome, everybody. Good to have everybody here. Uh, as I put in the chat, if you could drop us a quick message. Uh, we don't need to know where you're logging in from or what the weather is like where you're at, but we are curious about how you heard about this session. So if you could drop that in the chat. And excuse me, God, I got to get that frog out of my throat before we get started. Um, And if you'd like to share your LinkedIn profile so others can connect with you. Thank you. Thank you, Ribbit. Very nice, Richard. Yeah. I have to say, one of the things I love about the NSITSP is the sense of humor of all of our volunteers and members. So great to see everybody this morning or this afternoon, wherever you're dialing in from. Oh, thank you, Heather. Cameron, good to have you. Howard, thanks for joining. Carl, Sacramento. Carl can't follow instructions.
Maybe
Carl,
Carl just joined us. Carl and others who have just joined us, if you would, please post in chat how you learned about today's webinar and the launch of our strategic plan. We're going to go ahead and get started here today, and I want to start off by welcoming all of you for joining in for just an exciting opportunity to learn firsthand about the National Society of IT Service Providers strategic plan, our very first strategic plan. My name is Nicole Singleton Norman, and I serve as the executive director of the organization. And I, along with many volunteer leaders, our NSITSP board, we had committee members, committee chairs, and even general members volunteer to have a voice and provide input into this strategic plan. So you will have probably seen emails and hopefully posts on our website. The full strategic plan is available on the website. But today, Steve and I are going to provide an overview of what has been gathered together to really serve as a roadmap for us. At this time, I'm going to do a handoff to Steve Kazan, who serves as the current president for NSITSP. Steve.
Nicole, thank you very much. It's my job to do a little bit of the welcome and to kind of lay the foundation. As Nicole said, we probably as a group spent hundreds of hours um, talking and debating and putting together this plan. Um, it's comprehensive, it's thorough, and I really think it's a direction for not just our organization, which is important, but it also impacts the industry. And the industry of managed service providers and IT service providers who are providing services, critical IT services for hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of users out there. And if those users didn't have your services and your expertise, um, they couldn't run, they couldn't function, they wouldn't be in business. So I think we should all sort of take a step back and understand how important um, this organization is, our direction is, and the services that you provide. You know, we talk a lot about building this into a profession and the same way doctors and lawyers are. And I think that the that word is apropos because the health, right, of their businesses is dependent on the skills and the credibility and the ethics of the IT people that service them. All right, so let's just talk about vision and mission real quick. Um, at the start of the organization, the NSITSP, a couple of years ago, um, there was a lot of thought given to, what should be the direction of the organization, what should be its vision. And one of the things that we came back with is we needed a voice, right? We needed to be able to represent the membership um, in front of regulatory organizations, legislative organizations, um, other other IT service providers. Um, in some cases, the media, the social media, there needed to be a voice out there representing because bad information was being shared, incorrect information was being shared, and we wanted to fix that problem and make sure that the voice of um, the IT industry was being heard. So that's one of the main things. The other two things are professionalism. So in the past, and maybe still going on today, there are IT service providers that aren't providing the highest level of service, the highest quality of service. And we're trying as an organization to, bring that level of service up, right? As if these services are as critical as we believe they are, then the quality of those services has to be improved. And it's not just the quality of the services, but it's the impression that the IT service providers are making on their clients. So, having a professional performance, behavior, attitude, appearance, branding, all of those things, we're trying to raise that bar, raise the level of all of that within the industry. And, it's not going to happen today, but given that direction and that vision over the years, we're going to work towards that. And how do we get there? Well, we have a mission to be ethical. And this has been eye-opening for me just to be reminded that, good business practices, good relationships with clients and other IT service providers really is foundationed or based on being ethical to all of them. So we have debates, we have discussions back and forth about, um, what is the best practices, what is the most ethical practices, um, and we provide documentation that you can use for your websites, for your presentations, that shows your clients and your prospects how ethical you are and how that benefits them to be working with a provider that has a very high standard of ethics. So we hope that all of you have that on your website and are taking advantage of the documents that we provided along with those tools. So lastly, let's go to the next slide, please. Thank you, Nicole. Values. So, these are the things that as an organization we're trying to live by. So we're trying to grow our organization. We're trying to improve the quality of the members of our organization. And so we have to keep these things in mind. And every month we have board meetings and we remind ourselves that what we're doing should, be run by this set of values. And we think that, it's a volunteer organization. So everybody, puts in their time, volunteers their time, but we still need to, live up to our commitments and do as good a job as possible because there are a lot of MSPs, all of our members and all of the non-members out there that will be impacted by the things we do. So you can read the values of integrity and communication and honesty, um, along with education and change. And, we're going to be member driven. And I think you'll see from the discussion that we have that we give our members um, control, we give our members influence. If you're on a committee, you actually can drive the direction of that committee and thus the direction of the organization and thus the direction of this industry. So I'm going to, I think, hand back to Nicole. Before I do that, I just want to thank all of the volunteers, the founders that had the vision several years ago to put this together. Um, your hours of work, your emails and your showing up for meetings does not go unnoticed. And I think all of us are the beneficiaries of that. So with that, Nicole, I think you have the next slide.
Sounds great. Steve, I believe you hit the nail on the head by indicating we are truly member driven and our structure allows for that. As we continue to grow and evolve, we are constantly asking for feedback, and that's why we are all here today is to get your continued input on even the programs and the services that we offer our members. Um, Steve talked earlier about our code of ethics. Our governance committee is currently working to launch a code of conduct, a model document that will be very useful for our businesses and all of our members. We continue to advocate on the state level for our members and partner with our members to have grassroots advocacy efforts. As you all know, we're continuously providing webinars. So if you have suggested topics or you know speakers that we should tap into that will benefit our entire community, please don't hesitate to share that information with us. Or if you serve as a subject matter expert, please reach out to us as well. We'd love to get that information in front of all of our members. If you're not aware, there's a membership directory that we strongly encourage you to tap into. That online directory also allows for direct contact, but then we also have our groups, group forums in which you can communicate with our members. But the member directory is accessible once you log in through the member link on the bottom of the page. We are also thrilled, in addition to launching the strategic plan, stay tuned for information on our badge program. There will be getting out links to the badges that have already been released, and this is a new way for NSITSP to offer its members the way to receive recognition. These pages will be available to the general public. So we are recognizing NSITSP leaders, NSITSP ambassadors, our founding members. Many of you are online here today, and those that are investing in their continued education. So this information, again, is available and is another tool for you to use to note the recognition that you're getting from your industry partners here through NSITSP. We're also present at many trade shows, typically monthly. We have members that represent us at various trade shows throughout the country. And our professional development team is partnering with professional development education providers to provide information that we need to continue to grow our profession and to grow our businesses. And then there's also just continuous leadership opportunities for you to have an even stronger voice within NSITSP and our industry overall. We have volunteer opportunities on our board as well as on our committees. So I encourage you to be aware of our upcoming election. Will open August 1st. And then there's information on our website about these leadership opportunities as well. Additionally, just as a reminder, who do we serve? And Steve did a great job of capturing this. We really serve the entire IT service provider community. So whether you are a MSP, a MSSP, a IT professional, or our IT vendors, there's a place for you here in this NSITSP community. In conducting our the pre-work or the work that we did on the strategic plan, we not only did an external analysis and just to reaffirm our place here in this industry and our unique position in this industry, and our commitment to why we were founded and why we exist, but we also conducted an internal analysis. We looked at our organization and received feedback again from various members on where do we stand, what are our current strengths and weaknesses. And then we also looked at various opportunities we had, whether it was to partner with other organizations or allied associations or vendors. And then we considered our threats. And doing so with the SWOT analysis, really, this will help us to navigate the challenges that we may face and leverage our strengths as we move forward. And I will say, really, our commitment to this mission, hopefully you see it and feel it as well, is second to none. The weaknesses that we've identified, quite frankly, we're still a toddler organization, and we are working to strengthen our financial base because we know that with the financial resources, we're able to offer more value to our members and again, continue to strengthen our voice. One of the things that we're working aggressively on, and you'll see this in our ongoing communications, is working to build that leadership bench in our succession planning efforts. The opportunities we have, again, is to increase our membership base, to engage with other vendors and our strategic alliances. And you see that we're doing some of that even with our most recent webinar with the ASCII president and CEO. There's other organizations that have began to partner with NSITSP, and that's helping us to expand our voice and reach. And then as any organization, it's critical that we consider any possible threats. And it's just really working to overcome these threats through developing trust, constant communication, and the transparency in our operations. We've worked to identify both short-term and long-term objectives. NSITSP has started working towards the short-term aims, and that's to, again, strengthen our financial position. Our focus to do this is through membership growth and vendor partnership growth. And our vendor partnership program is a sponsorship opportunity where we're asking vendors to come along and partner with NSITSP in exchange for branding and marketing opportunities, as well as an opportunity to reach out to our members directly through hosting webinars and other programs. We will continue to aggressively work to build our NSITSP brand. We're doing this through even some of the tools that you all mentioned in chat, whether that's through social media, through press releases, issuing position statements as needed, and other tools. And then our other short-term objective is to expand our governance committee's objectives through providing code of conduct recommendations. And that committee really jumped on the bandwagon and is very close to releasing that model document for our members. The specific goals around these objectives are to, at a minimum, and these are conservative goals, I would say, to secure at least 10 members every month for this first year. That is a very, very conservative goal, but that is our aim. So we're asking all of you to continue to be ambassadors for NSITSP. Encourage your peers in the industry to come along and help us to strengthen our voice. We will also aim to add 15 new vendor partners to our community over the course of the next 12 months. Furthermore, as far as building our NSITSP brand, we are working to further engage on social media. Our plan is to have 3,000 followers in the next 12 months, and to increase our blog presence. So be sure to check out our blogs. We're probably averaging a couple every week. And we're highlighting our members. And if you'd like to uh, tell your story on our blogs as well, please reach out to us and we'll get an interview scheduled. We've had some very inspiring stories from our members there, so be sure to visit our blogs. Additionally, as I indicated, our code of conduct is being created by our governance committee, and they're also providing other tools to really ensure the governance of this organization. From a long-term perspective, over the next few years, we will look to increase our membership benefits, definitely have hands-on influence on public policies. We're working to just strengthen those relationships with legislators across the country. We have a very active legislative committee, and they've identified legislative mentors that are in particular states that are leading that charge. Our professional development is aggressively working on providing continued education offering and again, working with partners in that area. And our other objective is to begin hosting a NSITSP conference. We've identified very specific goals that go along with these long-term objectives. We plan to look at, where it makes sense, identifying specific membership offerings and benefits for you, our members. We will continue to create model legislation. If you have not yet seen it, I encourage you to look at what the Legislative Committee has already done around this area. And there's a number of advocacy tools under member resources on the NSITSP website. But this group of volunteers will continue to work to influence public policies that impact IT service providers. That goal is to have at least 6 legislative consultations or proposals within the next 3 years. And then we have created a process, but we'll be launching this to approve courses that apply towards continuing education units, and then also offering recognition for our members who participate. And then again, our long-term goal is to host an NSITSP standalone conference, and we'll begin planning towards that inaugural conference. The planning is slotted to begin in 2026. At this time, I also want to just recognize that with the strategic plan, there's definitely greater details for all of this information that we've shared, but we have considered how will we monitor the strategic plan? What will the report out be? And although we'll do more detailed biannual reviews, monthly, we have key metrics that are being considered at every single board meeting, and then also discussions within the monthly committee meetings. We've also considered the related risks and how to best mitigate those as we continue to execute upon this plan. At this time, I see there's some activity in chat, and Steve, if you'd like to lead us in addressing any questions that
Yeah.
have been presented. If you do have questions, please post those in the chat for us.
Yes, let's talk about some questions. So one question I think that popped up, I didn't see in the chat, but I've heard it before, is around training. So you talked about um, professional development and how the NSITSP helps its members become more professional. Um, does NSITSP do training? And if so, how do we interact with other industry organizations that do training? Um, and if I can answer my own question, um, we we do some training, but we really want to leverage other organizations that really focus on training. So the professional development piece is really sharing resources of other organizations that specialize and focus in IT service provider training. The topics that we provide are really focused on professionalism and ethics. And so our presentations, our webinars, those are the things that we focus on. Um, Last summer, we did some presentations on hiring and human resource management for managed service providers that were just gold. They were such a high quality. It was just fantastic. We've talked about, or we've had expert consultants talk about personal branding for your managed service provider. How can you improve, how you appear to your clients? Um, Really valuable guidance and input from those experts. This year, we've run a survey or a series on cybersecurity, and we brought in experts on different cybersecurity topics, one per month. It's been excellent. Um, so if you're looking for training from us, we focus on the things that we do best. But professional development rolling out um, is a great resource for finding other people that really focus and specialize in IT service provider training. So, Nicole, I don't know if you have any other comments on training as a question that's popped up.
We haven't had any questions pop up on that other than Carl has shared with us that the professional development is launching a new authorized training partner program. So if you offer any training, please reach out to us at the admin at nsitsp.org email, because there's definitely opportunities to partner with us to expand your reach to our members.
Let's see, other questions that would come out. A comment from Keith about volunteering for a committee. So we get the question all the time, I don't have time, I'm busy, I have to run a small business. I have clients that are, chasing me down all the time. How much work does it require? So the answer to that question is it's typically one meeting a month for the committees. There's typically some prep work that gets done. So maybe another, half an hour that gets done to prepare and then follow up and create the minutes for the committee meetings. So the amount of time that is contributed and donated um, can be kind of minimal. It can be a couple hours a month. Or if you're engaged and you're writing and you're producing documents, we could definitely take, 3 or 4 hours a month from you. If you're on the board, if you're going to run for the board, we have a board meeting that's an hour and a half to 2 hours a month. We have subcommittee meetings at the board level that take another couple of hours a month. Um, and if you have client calls, we've had the board do this, we've had committee members do this and just say, sorry, I have a P1 issue or a P0 issue that I have to address with a client and I can't make the meeting. We understand how that goes. We definitely do. Clients are come first. Keeping their businesses up and running is really the top priority. Um, so, if you have to bail out from a meeting, we understand that. We get it. Um, so, yes, we're volunteers and people are committed and, they show up and they spend the time and they're productive. So that's the other big issue is we're not just running committees to run committees. We're not just running committees to hold meetings. We're running committees to get work done, right? To make decisions, to drive the ball forward and to create the right sorts of messages and promote the right sorts of messages and the right sorts of tools and the right sorts of efforts. Um, and Carl, in particular, is one that very much focuses on this. Let's make that decision and let's move forward. So, as they say in the business world, we have a bias for action. And I think that comes through in this plan. And as it comes through in the meetings that we have, for every call, we try to make sure that there are things that we can act on right away and make progress on.
Steve, I have a question for you. Earlier, we talked about the legislative efforts and advocacy that NSITSP is aiming to lead on. If I'm in a particular state, what's the best way to be proactive in partnering with NSITSP in either creating legislation or serving as a resource in my particular state?
Yeah, so this was a big eye opener for me, which was most of the regulations that govern managed service providers and IT service providers are state level regulations. And that's good news and bad news for us. Um, what it means is there are like 50 different states that have to be addressed. And Ted Geisler and the legislative committee do a really good job at focusing on issues at the state level. And so one of the things that we want to do is create those tools within the organization and then share them off across more states. Now, the question is that comes up is how do we get more influence at the state level? And one of the ways we do it is become more vocal and two, um, create more members within that state. So let's take 30 seconds and look at a little case study. The state of Maryland decided, in the dark of night, their legislature that they wanted to tax managed service providers or IT professional services. And so they came up with a proposal to tax, um, IT service providers and MSPs. And we found out about it because one of our members was engaged at the state level. He let us know. Our committee sprang into action. We wrote a statement. Um, and then with that statement, we shared that both internally in our members, but externally. And interestingly enough, we found an ally with the Chamber of Commerce within that state that created that connection and shared our position out to the Speaker of the House, the legislatures of the House, as well as the governor. Um, and we represented the voice of IT service providers within the state of Maryland that were completely ignored when this tax was created. Now, did we have the power to change their minds? No, not yet. But as this organization grows and as we get more influence within each state, then yes, we will um, have that influence and able to redirect some of those regulations. So, what can the state person do? One, they can get engaged with their local state assemblyman, state senator, reach out to those people, get on their radar so that when something does pop up, like a tax or a regulation, you have that relationship now. So all of us very simply just reached out to our local people and just got on their radar and got out in front of them to let them know that our organization exists and that we care about um, those issues that could come before those state agencies. On the federal level, there are lots of federal agencies that impact us. One of them is CISA. So the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency provides really valuable services to MSPs that are then able to use those services and that information to protect their clients. And that organization has had its budget cut drastically. It's had its headcount cut by a third. So 1,000 people out of the 3,000, which is not very big for a government agency, were terminated. And so we've come out with a statement on what's happened at CISA. We then reached out to national publications like NPR. Um, we've reached out to the New York Times. Um, again, we're a small voice, but we're a voice. And I think all of us as a group collectively need to understand how important CISA is to all of us. And that's just sort of one issue that is coming in front of our membership, and we're taking positions on and we're pushing it out. We think about this as a long-term effort, right? Building our influence, building our connections over time. And so, at some point, someday, we have enough connections with enough legislators, with enough regulators, so that we are be able to move that needle. But if we don't start today, right here, right now, by building our membership and building our influence, we're not going to be able to push that going forward. Ted Geisler, God bless him, was promoting the legislative committee. Those guys are really into the details at the state level. Um, and so if you haven't been to one of their meetings and learned, their process on lobbying and contacting your local legislator, Ted and his team are really good at being able to do that. All right. So I hope I answered that question. And
You did. Thank you,
I
Steve.
went
I
on and
appreciate
on, but
it.
it's
No, it's
important.
great. This is very good information for us to all know. So thank you. The We've talked about IT service providers and MSPs, and there's also mention about IT vendors engaging in
Mm.
NSITSP. What are the benefits of a vendor partner or a vendor joining as a member of NSITSP?
Ah, good question. So vendors are part of the ecosystem, right? If there weren't vendors producing software and hardware and services, the IT service providers wouldn't have anything to sell. They'd have no product. The vendors need to behave, they need to perform, they need to be supportive of our members. And so we need to hear from them, right? We're not going to operate in a vacuum. We need to have um, vendors as part of our community. So we have a new membership committee being formed, and part of that is how to manage and support and interact with vendors. We had a vendor task force that did some great work to establish, um, how we should work with vendors, how we should interact with them, how we should, help them understand how better to serve IT service providers and managed service providers. So if you are a vendor, and if you know a vendor, or if you deal with a vendor, then having those vendors join us is really important. We also have vendors as sponsors. So for webinars, um, the cybersecurity webinars, we've had vendors sponsor us. We have really reasonable rates, really kind of dirt cheap rates to have those vendors sponsor us. They get, great branding for those events. They get access to explain about their products and services at those events. So, again, if you know vendors out there that want to share their message and their expertise with our members, by all means, get a hold of us, let us know, and we're happy to work with them. Um, so yeah, more vendors.
Love it. We have a member that wants to get engaged with NSITSP, but because of the demands of their business and their schedule, they're unable to commit to, set times every month, or a unlimited amount of time. And I know you spoke earlier about it being a low commitment of time, but are there other opportunities to engage with NSITSP without necessarily serving on a committee or running for the board or a committee position?
Oh, there certainly are. Um, so we've mentioned this in the chat briefly, which is supporting us on social media. So if you're logging into Facebook or LinkedIn in the middle of the night because you're busy during the day running your business, if you could take a few extra minutes each time you log in, buzz on over to our pages, forward our messages, like our messages, comment, by all means, comment on our messages. Um, those things all add up. And, they may seem like very small drops in the ocean, but again, it adds up. I think if you don't have time to volunteer for a particular committee, spend some time on our website. Our website, I think, is very underutilized. There's a whole lot of things there. There are resources, there are assets, there are discussion forums. So spend a little time in the forums, spend a little time on the blogs, If you have time, um, again, on a weekend, which seems to be when we do most of our work, or an evening, to drop a little, blog post or question, all that dialogue definitely helps. The other topic I would say that we haven't really talked about is community, right? That making friends, making colleagues with these people is a huge value, tremendous value. It's like having an advisory group at your beck and call, being from all over the United States, from all over different technology expertise, business expertise. Um, and so getting involved and being able to tap into that resource base is a tremendous value. And so you might not know somebody who knows a particular brand or a particular product. This organization can say, what do you know about Dell versus EMC? What do you know about this software versus that software? What are you doing about cyber insurance? What are you doing about AI? You know, this organization has that community knowledge that can help you do that. Um, Amy talked about or mentioned the marketing committee. So yes, we have a committee, meets once a month, um, always looking for ways to improve getting the word out there. If you do social media or if you want to learn about social media, then join on in. If you have an interest in AI, we have an AI task force that's really casual, but we share the latest and greatest of news as it impacts um, ITSPs and MSPs. And again, it's a connection. It's a way to meet people who might not have the answer for you, but they know who does, and they can connect you to other people. So again, a long-winded answer, but thank you for asking the question.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate all of you who posted in chat too with other ways for our members to engage. And I don't see any other questions at this time. Steve, do you have any closing remarks?
Uh, I do. Uh, I want to say that this organization um, is populated by great people, and the people in the organization give a lot of themselves. And you can see that when you get to know them and you see that they're giving to local organizations, they're giving to statewide boards that they sit on. You can see the awards that they win by the public service that they do. And yes, they all run their own businesses. So they all have a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 9 job. Um, but their contribution to the IT industry um, is significant and it's valuable. And this organization, I mean, I've been involved for just a few years, but as we grow and as our impact and influence grows, we have the potential to really change the way people look at IT services with a lot more respect, right? A lot more admiration. And our goal is to get there. And this plan is putting us in the right direction, short term and long term, to get there. So, with that, that's my final 2 cents. And thank you, Nicole, for the opportunity to share that.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And I want to thank all of our members who have participated today and our entire NSITSP community. We exist for you. And because of you, we're able to really strive great towards our mission and our vision. So thank you for participating. We continue to be excited to partner with each and every one of you. And if there's anything that you need from us, feel free to reach out to admin@nsitsp.org or visit our website to connect directly with us. Again, I thank you for your participation and we look forward to working with you in accomplishing all of the goals that have been presented today. So thank you again for your time.
Bye-bye. Take care.
I know.